sorry, in this chapter, a very detailed explanation is given in this chapter and previous chapter about what happens to the soul, what is the journey of the soul, even in the human body. We are not even going into what happens in the animal body. Animal body is mainly suffering, very little enjoyment. Here, in human body, you may have little bit of enjoyment, but again, there's a lot of suffering. To enjoy, you have to suffer a lot. And after enjoyment, you will suffer again. That's the unfortunate nature, it's the design of the material world. This is how it is. So, we don't see our lives like that, but scriptures give us those eyes to understand what is the nature of this material world, what is the nature of the material body. वरना अपने को अपने आप कभी नहीं समझेगा. We'll be stuck in our same old thing, that you get up in the morning. If you're a student, you get up, you refuse to get up first, then you get up. And after you get up, you stumble into the toilet, take a bath, you rush out, go to just have some breakfast and rush out to college. Pura दिन college, then वापस आके notes, assignments, homework, ये वो मारा मारी, सो जाओ रात को, and then next morning you get up again. And again the same thing. This goes on for 4, 5, 6, 10 years. If you're a doctor, it goes on for 10 years. If you're an engineer, it goes on for 6 years. And whatever, but suffering is there, just non-stop. And those who are working, those who have their own businesses, same thing. Get up in the morning, do your morning ablutions, have a breakfast, run to office. Bhago. Or pura din bhago. You're just running, 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 running. It's like running on a treadmill. Running very hard, but you're where you are. कहीं आगे बढ़ता ही नहीं है गाड़ी वहीं पे. Desperately, अरे उसका अभी गया गाड़ी, but वो भी कितना? He's gone few inches ahead of you. So he's also running on a treadmill only. This is what it is. You don't even get time to introspect that what is this life? ये जीवन क्या है? ऐसा एक गाना था, बहुत साल पहले, before we came to Bhakti, we had seen one movie. उसमें वो गाना है, जीवन क्या है कोई ना जाने, जो जाने वो पछता है. This is the lyrics of that song. जीवन क्या है कोई ना जाने, जो जाने वो पछता है. So we don't see life the way it is described to us in scriptures. That's why it is so important to hear katha. It is so important to read our scriptures. हम लोग को अपना ही scriptures मालूम नहीं. There's this cartoon that came few days back where somebody is telling the terrorist कि मैं आपका कलमा क्या पढ़ूं, मुझे मेरा खुद का शास्त्र नहीं मालूम, मैं आपका कलमा क्या कलमा मैं आपका कलमा कैसे जानूंगा, मेरा खुद का शास्त्र नहीं जानता. That is our unfortunate situation. We don't know our own scriptures. We don't know the treasure house that is sitting in these scriptures. मतलब ये क्या सोने की खान है, ये हम नहीं जानते. लेकिन अगर हम जान जाएं, so we will be really amazed what is there in our scripture. This chapter, 31st chapter, is one of those where it gives amazing insight. Things which were known 5,000 years back they were known millions of years back, but historians accept that this was known 5,000 years back because it was written in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam is accepted as something that was written around 5,200 years back. Historians also accept. Historians also accept that it was written 5,200 years back. And usme, the process of conception and development of embryo in the womb of the mother is described in graphic detail. Embryology, as they call it.
जब वो मंदिर दिशा चलो साथ में चलो छियो.
What is that doing in a religious scripture? Why is the embryology described in a religious scripture?
आयब के बना लिया अनहार
God has given it himself. So, you see, conception of a child. Today morning, Mukund Mala Prabhu, anyone heard Bhagavatam today morning? Yeah, so Mukund Mala Prabhu was making a very beautiful point. He said that when we see things daily, every day when we see something, we don't see the miracle in it. हमको ये तो रोज का है, तो हमको थोड़ी उसमें miracle दिखता है. But really, if you see, there are miracles all around us. Every second, there's a miracle going on all around you. It's a miracle, nothing short of a miracle. One breath that you take, one breath, it's a miracle. One breath, you don't even think, it's an involuntary action. One breath went inside. What went inside? Air containing oxygen, nitrogen, carbon dioxide, sulfur dioxide, hydrogen peroxide, पता नहीं क्या क्या अंदर गया, carbon monoxide, so many things went inside. It went inside the lungs. The lungs are so intelligent. They are able to immediately filter out what they need. We need oxygen. तो ये सब बाकी कचरा हटाओ, oxygen निकालो, and that oxygen is then supplied to the heart, to the brain, to the bloodstream, through the lungs. Lungs is a closed organ. Closed है ना organ? इसमें कहीं होल नहीं होता है. But that lung has the capacity to pass that oxygen, only the oxygen, to the blood, without passing the carbon monoxide and all the other kachra that we generate in this world. Doesn't pass that. It just passes that. And that oxygen doesn't just go into the blood. It gets supplied to each and every cell in the body. Every cell in the body receives that oxygen. Then that cell, what carbon dioxide is, whatever waste is generated by that cell pushes that back, and through the lungs and through the skin it is removed from the body. I mean, nothing short of a fantastic science fiction, miracle. It's happening every second. We just are not aware of it. Conception of a child is like that. It's a miracle, it is described here that according to karma, okay, so according to the process of karma, okay,
हाँ
क्या चल रहा है? ध्रुव क्या चल रहा है? Okay, according to the process of karma, it is described
एके गो बनैया हमरा ला
under the supervision of the Lord. Under the supervision of the Lord, the living entity, the soul, is made to enter into the womb of a mother through the particle of male semen to assume a particular type of body. Okay, and over here, very interesting. I mean, each word in this is very interesting. If you pay attention, it says that under the supervision of the Supreme Lord. So it is not like they say by random chance. Some soul just lands up in some body, someone lands in some other body. वो थोड़ा unfair हो जाता है ना, मतलब chance has to be impartial. Probability is supposed to be impartial, but this doesn't seem very possible because someone is born in a very middle class family, someone is born in a very rich family, someone is born in a very, very poor, destitute family, somebody is born in a family which is well to do but all unhealthy. Some unhealthy है घर में. And someone is born in a very poor family but very good, healthy people. एकदम कड़क रहता है उनका, कुछ नहीं होता उनको, मतलब गटर का पानी पी के भी वो लोग जिंदा है, कुछ नहीं होता है. हाँ, और बाकी लोग ऐसा केयरफुल बिस्लरी का पानी पी के हमेशा पेट खराब रहता है. So this is not happening by chance. This is happening because it is happening Daiva Netrena, under the supervision of the higher powers. The Supreme Lord is ensuring that the living entity, the soul, goes into the just appropriate body. So this process of conception itself and the development of the child in the womb of the mother is inconceivable, actually. I have said this here many times before, but I don't mind repeating it 100 times because we need to understand. See, हम लोग ना इतना ये दुनिया में पूरा दिन फोन पे रह के, टीवी देख के, ये इंटरनेट, ये that is happening outside world ना, sometimes we become numb. समझते हैं? numb मतलब एकदम सुन्न हो जाते हैं, एकदम numb, एकदम immune to all the wonderful things that are happening around us, like clockwork. Everything is working like clockwork. Perfect. All the laws of nature are working 100%. Unka efficiency is 100%. The sun, the moon, the earth, relative position has not changed ever. The seasons may go little here and there, but the seasons come on time. The rain comes. The sun is there. The night is there. Everything is perfect. our digestion is there. We eat any nonsense, still it gets digested. So everything is working so nicely. We don't recognize these things. We are only complaining, ye bura hua, wo hua, ye hua. But jara socho, we need to become, more cognizant of what is happening. Conception of a child is a miracle. Scientifically, if you look at it, one sperm cell is able to make a long journey and able to fertilize that one egg. Okay, what is the probability of this happening? Very low. Still, conception happens. And after that conception, what happens? Like it is described here, the soul is first thing that happens is, according to karma, according to someone's previous karma, they are awarded a particular kind of body, particular kind of situation, particular kind of body, male body, female body, in this country, in this situation, everything is, according to one's karma and desire, a particular kind of body is awarded. And material nature provides the body, but the Lord decides. Lord gives the, the sanction for that. And then the soul is transferred to the semen of a particular father. Now, this is very interesting because the scientists say that there is no soul. Abhi itna nahi bolte, but pehle bahut bolte the. Scientists say there is nothing called soul. It is the father's semen, the mother's egg, two material things coming together. And from that, life is created. Body comes from that. But here in the scripture, Srimad Bhagavatam clearly describes, it's called Retakana Ashraya. That means this living entity takes Ashraya. Ashraya means what? Shelter. It takes shelter of this Retakana. Retakana is the semen of the father. It takes shelter of that, and then from that, it enters into the egg, and that's how the conception happens. So, the probability of this happening, okay, that the mother's egg and the father's semen getting, fertilized and for those of you, I mean, I don't know how many of you have had this, but some people have problems with conceiving a child. We all agree? I mean, some are very lucky. They just desire and it happens. And some, it just doesn't happen. They keep trying and keep trying and keep trying. You don't understand that there is something working here which we don't understand. हमें समझ नहीं है, लेकिन हमें at least समझने का प्रयास करना चाहिए कि this is not, you are not the controller. Actually the whole process of conception, and then after conception when the child is born, and the child, how they, manage the parents. Parents feel they are managing the child. The child is managing the parent, and a child teaches you that you are not the controller. हम लोग को लगता है ना कि मैं कंट्रोलर है भाई, I can do whatever I like, मैं सब बराबर करेगा, करूंगी, I'll do, But a child, from the process of conception to all the way till they become teenagers and grow up, they teach you are not controlled. Nothing is in your control. Children especially give you that realization. So, like this. So there are 4 kinds of bodies. It is described in one of the prophets. He says there are 4 kinds of bodies. One that grows from the earth. What grows from the earth? The plants and the trees. So one kind of body is that which comes from the earth. Okay. The second kind, he says, grows from perspiration. So here he says flies, germs, bugs. These are actually, their body comes from perspiration. The third type of body, he says, comes from egg, from an egg. So birds, fish, like that, or some of the reptiles. They are born from an egg, and finally one comes from the womb as an embryo, which is what human beings or mammals are, right? So again, very scientific. The classification, Srila Prabhupada has given it very casually in the purport. There are 4 types of bodies. But this is not coming from a scientist. I mean, he is a person of science, but it's not coming from science, coming from a sadhu. It's just casually referring there are 4 types of bodies. But if you really look at it from a scientific point of view, it is explaining everything. सब कुछ उसी में आ गया. Then from verse 2 to 4, okay, it describes the development of that, from the point where the semen meets with the mother's egg. Okay, what happens? It says, on the first night, the sperm and ovum mix. And on the 5th night, now this is a description given where? In Srimad Bhagavatam. As I said, 5,500 years ago, it has been written. The actual content, this conversation has happened millions of years back. It's just being kind of documented over here. This is what Lord Kapila told his mother about the process of death, old age, disease, and birth. So, this birth ka discussion chal raha hai. So, on the first night, sperm and ovum mix. On the 5th night, the mixture ferments into a bubble. On the 10th night, it develops into a form like a plum. मतलब वो गोल ऐसा एक form हो जाता है. After that, it gradually turns into a lump or a flesh or lump of flesh or an egg, as the case may be. So, if it is a bird, it is developing into an egg. If it is human, it is developing into a lump of flesh. Then text 3 says, in the course of a month, in 1 month or so, first a head is formed. Okay? A head is formed, and at the end of 2 months, the hands, feet, and other limbs take shape. Now, see this whole description about the embryology, how from one cell, it starts with one cell, that egg, one cell which gets fertilized and starts multiplying into 2, into 4, into 8, into 16. We have seen this under a microscope in movies, in documentaries, you might have seen it. It's so fantastic. It is happening at a ridiculous pace. We'll just spend a few minutes on that as well later. Someone remind me if I don't say it, that comparison between a body of a baby and a factory, HPCL factory, okay, refinery. Okay, so we'll discuss that. So, so at the end of 2 months, hands, feet, and other limbs take shape. By the end of 3 months, the nails, the fingers, the toes, the body hair, bones, and skin start to appear, as do the organ of generation and other apertures in the body, namely the eyes, nostril, ears, mouth, and anus. So by the 3rd month, already the embryo has started developing all these things. The organs have started developing. Now, when my second child was born, we were in Singapore at that. So our first child, my daughter was born premature. She was born 6.5 months. 6.5 months she was born. She didn't complete full term, so 2.5 months premature. So because of that, obviously for the second child, we were very worried, and we were in Singapore, far away from family and everything. So we were advised to please visit a sonography and take a proper sonography. So in the 3rd month, Singapore में sonography allow करते हैं. They allow and they tell also that boy है, girl है, यहाँ पे जैसा नहीं. So we went there and we did a sonography. This is when we were expecting our son in 2004, and it was just, I think, 3.5 months. This is 3.5 months, okay? And the doctor was a Chinese person. उनका नाक कैसा रहता है? चपट रहता है. उनका नाक हमेशा चपट रहता है. And he saw the sonography. He saw मतलब उसने किया, and he said, just look at that Indian nose. मतलब ऐसा proper well-defined nose है बेटे का. Decently, not very sharp, but well-defined nose. He said, just look at that Indian nose. ऐसा उसने बोला. So this is what Bhagavatam is saying, that in 3rd month itself, nose, eyes, ears, nostrils, anus, everything starts generating in the 3rd month. Now look at it from point of view of those who go for abortion. What does the doctor or what does the mother who's going for abortion refer to the child as? क्या बोलते हैं बच्चे को जिसको abort किया? Fetus बोलते हैं, या तो what is the word they use? Tissue. This is just tissue निकाल देंगे हम लोग. But see how much development is happening in the first 3 months. That child has come there because of you. It's come because of you. It's your karma that this child is born. And if you decide to kill that child, which is developing inside you, uska haath, pav, naak, aankh, waak, सब कुछ develop हो रहा है, so that that child can come out and experience the world. And then we end up killing. Right? So much to learn, so many things. We are so unconscious, we become so unconscious. मतलब इतना हम लोग सुन्न हो गए, numb हो गए, we don't even think before doing these things. And modern science makes it very easy. Walk in, walk out 2 hours later, साफ सुथरा, किसी को पता भी नहीं चलेगा. Modern science makes it very convenient. But if you look at it from a karmic perspective, what are you doing? Killing a living entity. It is nothing short of murder. It is first degree murder of a helpless person who has no choice, can't do anything. कुछ नहीं कर सकते. उसको आप मारने का कोशिश. Anyway, so this is text 3 and text 4. It says within 4 months from the date of conception, the 7 essential ingredients of the body, namely chyle, blood, flesh, fat, bone, marrow, and semen, come into existence. At the end of 5 months, hunger and thirst make themselves felt. And at the end of 6 months, the fetus enclosed by the amnion or amniotic sac begins to move on the right side of the abdomen. So all this description is given in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay. Now I wanted to just think about this, right? How wonderful this is. This whole thing is happening in a unsupervised manner. कोई supervise कर रहा है क्या? Is the mother, मतलब she may be doing sonography to see that baby is developing nicely. When you want to abort, you call it a fetus or a tissue. When you want to have the child, you call it a baby. I'm holding my baby in my womb. So yeah. So this unsupervised development of the baby in the mother's womb. बाहर आने के बाद कितना सुपरवाइज करना पड़ता है बच्चे को, है कि नहीं माता जी? हाँ, बच्चे को कितना ध्यान रखना पड़ता है, हर चीज को ध्यान रखना पड़ता है अपने को कि अरे इसने खाया कि नहीं, इसने सुसु किया, इसने शीशी किया, इसको साफ करो, ये करो, इसको वैक्सीनेशन दो, इसको दवाई दो, सही टाइम पे उसको सॉलिड फूड चालू करो, उसके खाने को इधर उधर भागते, कितना सुपरविजन करना पड़ता है. बट स्टिल देयर आर प्रॉब्लम्स, है कि नहीं? बट हियर यू सी कोई सुपरविजन नहीं है. Nobody is supervising the development of the baby in the womb of the mother. सही टाइम पे, you think of this, okay? It is almost equivalent that आपने शुरू किया एक painting. You started making one painting, okay? वो painting आपने चालू किया बनाने को, आपके पास खाली 2 ही कलर थे, black and white. Only 2 colors you had, black and white, okay? And you start making the painting, and at some time automatically the black becomes उसमें थोड़ा red भी add हो जाता है, थोड़ा side में red color आ जाता है उसमें, red color comes. At some point of time, a little bit of brown also starts coming. Some point of time, little red, little yellow, little green, little blue, अलग-अलग colors start manifesting from the palette itself, automatically. अपने आप को आता है, एंड देन वो बहुत सुंदर पेंटिंग बन जाता है. ये कितना आपको लॉजिकल लगा? ऐसा हो सकता है क्या कोई पेंटिंग? या शुरू किया खाली ब्लैक एंड व्हाइट से, और उसके बाद ऐसे 8-10 कलर मैनिफेस्ट हो गए, ऐसा होता है क्या कहीं? अगर पॉसिबल है? इम्पॉसिबल, राइट? दैट्स व्हाट्स हैपनिंग इनसाइड द बॉडी, अनसुपरवाइज्ड. द बॉडी स्टार्टेड विद one cell, that cell divided into 2, that divided into 4, that divided into 8, that divided into 16, 32, 64, 128, and so on. And it's all happening at a very rapid pace, right? Because in the first month itself, certain milestones have been described over here. Lump of flesh is already formed, right? So each cell Each cell, I'm coming to that cell analogy, it is described each human cell, one cell within the human body. If you analyze, जिसने biology पढ़ा होगा 11th 12th में, उसने human cell जरूर देखा होगा, not physically but at least किताब में तो पढ़ा होगा. Anyone here डॉक्टर पढ़ने वाला ऐसा कोई है? माइक्रोफोन कोई नहीं है ना? ठीक है, मैं बोल सकता हूँ अपने पास. तो वो सर पे मारेंगे, मतलब क्या बकवास कर रहा है, थोड़ी होता है. But you know, one cell, it is described, is so complex. It's like a city. पूरा शहर है वो सेल के अंदर. There is a nucleus, there is this, I think, mitochondria and so many things going on inside one cell, just one cell. And then a baby at one point of time, at when it's developing, it becomes faster and faster, no? Because as more cells develop, each cell is expanding. At one point of time, a baby is producing, it's like a factory that is producing 15,000 cells per minute. एक मिनट में ऐसा 15,000 फैक्ट्री तैयार हो रहा है. Each cell is like one factory. In 1 minute, 15,000 cells. Who is producing? A baby in the stomach. कोई बाहर से कोई इंटरवेंशन नहीं है, ये हो रहा है अंदर. And at some point of time, that cells which are dividing, you again see, it's like the example I gave you, black and white, black and white, black and white, at the most gray, black, white, वही होगा और कुछ नहीं होगा. But यहाँ पे क्या हो रहा है? एक, it said ना that at some point of time, what starts developing? Yeah, by end of 3 months, nails start appearing. Already limbs have started coming, hand, feet have started coming in 2 months. 2 महीने में हाथ और पैर डेवलप होने चालू होते हैं. फिर उसके ऊपर nails. So something inside is creating that cell to divide in a proportion कि आप इस direction में जाओ, आप पैर बन जाओ. आप इस direction में जाओ, आप हाथ बन जाओ. आप इस direction में जाओ और आप इस हाथ के ऊपर nails बन जाओ. हेलो, आप एक इस direction में जाओ और आप जो है you become a hair cell, you become a bone, you become a liver, you become a heart, all coming from that first one cell. One cell is now deciding to transform. वो क्या बोलते हैं उसको? ट्रांसफॉर्मर्स ही बोलते हैं ना क्या? तो ये वो मूवीज में रहता है ना, ट्रांसफॉर्मर. It is transforming. That cell is transforming into a liver cell, into a heart cell, into a muscle, into a skin cell, into hair, into eyes. Eyes are so complex. The breathing apparatus, everything is being formed in the mother's womb. Not a miracle? आप लोगों को नहीं लगता ये miracle है? रोज, every day millions of babies are being born. Millions. Every day millions are being conceived. Therefore millions are being born. It's extraordinary what is happening, but we don't know about it. But when we read here, when we read scripture, we understand that ये कितना अद्भुत है ये चीज. It's so amazing. So in Markandeya Puran, okay, in Markandeya Puran, it is said that this is one of the Puranas. Out of the, how many Puranas do we have? 18. One of them is Markandeya Puran. Markandeya Puran, it is said that in the Prabhupada is quoting this in the purport. That is why we should read. See, आप लोग आके यहाँ पे सुनते हो, it is very nice. But you must read also what Prabhupada has written, because I don't cover everything. I cover only थोड़ा करके मैं आप लोगों को कुछ देता हूँ. But आप लोग अगर पढ़ोगे, you realize how much the acharyas have taken trouble, कितना मेहनत किया है to give us something so that we can consume it. Picture. हाँ यार. You know, it is not just some man-made scripture which recommends that a person is not following your faith, kill him. No, this is proper scientifically explaining everything very nicely. So, Markandeya Purana, the mother, the umbilical cord, which is known as Apya Yani, joins the mother to the abdomen of the child. And through this passage, the child within the womb accepts the mother's assimilated foodstuff. This Prabhupada says has now been proven by medical science, but this has existed in the Puranas for thousands of years. जरा एक बार सोचो, देखो खाली सनातन सनातन का झंडा मत ले रहा हो, जानो कि सनातन जो धर्म है उसमें स्क्रिप्चर्स क्या है, इसके अंदर हाउ पावरफुल इट इज, हाउ मच इनसाइट इट इज गिविंग यू. ट्राई टू अंडरस्टैंड. गो थ्रू. हरे कृष्णा. Okay, so try to understand, and it is wonderful. So now the child which is in the womb of the mother, okay, mother के womb में है बच्चा. We discussed. He is growing hands, eyes, legs, nose. Now what is inside the womb of the mother? Anyone tell me? Inside the uterus क्या होता है? हाँ, क्या होता है? Water. Amniotic fluid बोलते हैं उसको ना, amniotic fluid. It is water, right? Is the child not drown inside it? पानी है ना. He is head down in that womb. उसमें drown क्यों नहीं हो रहा? किसी को पता है? There must be some medical explanation for it, I'm sure. But ये कोई miracle से कम है. बच्चा inside the water, his nose has been formed, but he has not yet started breathing. So he doesn't show. He's getting all his nutrition, he's getting his oxygen, everything from where? From that placenta. क्या बोलते हैं उसको? Amniotic. क्या बोलते हैं? हाँ? Umbilical cord. From the umbilical cord, he's receiving everything. Nutrition, oxygen, जो भी चाहिए वहीं से मिल रहा है उसको. He doesn't breathe till he comes out. He or she. What a miracle! क्या मतलब हम लोग ये सब देखते भी नहीं, दिखता भी नहीं हम लोगों को. But it is amazing that the creation of the Lord is engineered to perfection. Perfect. Everything just perfect. So we should not doubt. If we accept that this engineering is perfect, we should not doubt that why one child is born deformed, why one child is born in poor family, why one child is born sickly, why one child is born overweight. You should understand it is all by the designation, by the design of the Lord, perfectly designed as per karma of that living entity. Like that. So the child, then it is described, okay, that what is the suffering that the child starts receiving inside the womb. See, हम लोग बोलते हैं ना, what are the 4 miseries of life? भगवद गीता कोर्स JOSD जिसने सुना है, what are the 4 miseries of life? Birth, old age, disease and death. So अभी तक in the last 1 or 2 chapters we have been discussing how old age, disease and death is miserable, and after death you may go to hellish planet, that is even more miserable. ये तो discuss कर लिया. Birth miserable है यार. Miserable about birth. Now let us discuss. अब तक तो सब अच्छा scientific miracle वगैरह सब discuss किया. Let us understand why birth is called miserable. It is described that the child, whatever the mother eats, it actually affects the child. So if the mother is eating very spicy food, very pungent food, lot of onion, lot of very तीखा खाना, very sour खाना, बहुत सा बोलते हैं ना माँ को इसमें दुआड़ बोलते हैं ना, दुआड़ में उनको सा खट्टा खाने का मन करता है, वो खट्टा खा रहे हैं, वो अंदर बच्चे को एसिड लग रहा है. Because the child's body, that skin is very tender. It's very tender. So whatever the mother eats, it affects the child. Okay, so it suffers. Then whatever worms, mother के abdomen में जो भी worms हैं, those worms, they bite the child's body. And what can the child do? Nothing. You imagine, आप कभी किसी क्या analogy दूँ आपको? If you have ever, anyone ever stayed in a dormitory? कभी जिंदगी में कोई dormitory में नहीं? Yeah. So if you have stayed in a dormitory, you know that आपको सोने की जगह मिल गई, you should be grateful. एक गद्दा मिल गया, चुप रहो, चुपचाप सो जाओ. You are grateful you got a place to at least rest your back. There is no place because आपके पीछे भी, आपके आगे भी और आपके सब साइड पे कोई ना कोई सोया है. There is no place only for anything. हाँ? ऐसा क्रैम्प्ड वे में सोए हैं. कभी कभी एक बेड पे, दो बेड पे तीन जन सोते हैं. ये सिचुएशन में मच्छर आगे करता है. What can you do? Do anything. कुछ भी नहीं कर सकते आप. तो आपका काटते रहेगा, आप कुछ नहीं कर सकते. Well, if your hands and legs are tied and someone is biting you continuously, mosquito is biting you, how horrible it is. Suffering. So this is how the child suffers. When the mother eats something, he suffers. When insects or worms in the mother's body, they bite him, he suffers. Once his grace Krishnananda Prabhu, he gave a very powerful analogy that what is the experience of the child in the womb. He said, आप लोग में से कोई ट्रेन में तो सफर किया ही रहेगा. अभी ट्रेन में कभी कभी आप लेट टिकट बुकिंग करते हो, लेट तत्काल वगैरह करते हो, तो आपको कौन सा टिकट, कौन सा सीट नंबर मिलता है? नहीं, ऐसे तो मिलता है, बट अगर सपोज आपको कंफर्म सीट मिल गया तो कंफर्म सीट क्या सीट नंबर मिलता है टिपिकली? साइड वाला, या तो 72 70 69 70 ऐसा, या तो 1 2 3 वो रेंज में आपको सीट मिलता है. व्हाट इज द स्पेशलिटी ऑफ दिस सीट? इट इज क्लोज टू द टॉयलेट. सो जैसे ही दरवाजा खुलता है आपको उसकी स्मेल आती है. It is constant. If you have gone on a long journey, you know, in hopefully you've not done it. I've had to do it several times. You know, when I was in sales, हम लोग को आए दिन कभी भी जो टिकट मिला उसमें बैठ के जाओ, ऐसा था. So सेकंड क्लास डब्बे में आप अगर ऐसे सीट नंबर 1 2 में होना, वो टॉयलेट इतना पास मारता है. And you are in a 12-hour journey in that train. 12 घंटे you have to suffer that smell. This child suffers for 9 months. उसका नाक तो फर्स्ट या सेकेंड मंथ में डेवलप हुआ है. 7 महीना उसको वो स्मेल सहन करना पड़ता है इनसाइड द बॉडी. बॉडी में कुछ परफ्यूम फ्रॉम आउटसाइड नाइस, यू नो, लक्स साबुन लगा के अच्छे से सुगंधित करोगे, अंदर क्या कर सकते हो? कुछ नहीं. Body stinks from inside. That is why when we die, immediately body starts smelling with all the bad things that are there. And now the soul has, while soul is there, the soul, you know, keeps the body together. The moment the soul leaves, body starts decomposing. So he's suffering like this. Then it is described that at one point, you know, the body becomes arched like a bow. bow को कैसा arch करते हैं, खींचते करके खींचते हैं, तो वैसा the body of the baby becomes arched. The head comes close to the stomach. Okay, and Prabhupada mentions in the purport, you know, verse number 8, he mentions in the purport, yeah, placed within the amnion and covered outside by the intestine, the child remains lying on one side of the abdomen, his head turned towards his belly and his back and neck arched like a bow. So Prabhupada over here says, if a grown man were put into such a condition, within the as a child within the abdomen, completely entangled in all respects, it would be impossible for him to live in for a few seconds. Now see what, so this is the scientific fact, okay? But now see what the purport says further. He says, unfortunately, we forget all these sufferings, what we have gone through in the womb of the mother. We forget all these sufferings and try to be happy in this life, not caring for the liberation of the soul from the entanglement of birth and death. He says it's an unfortunate civilization in which these matters are not plainly discussed. ये कोई बात नहीं करता है. No one discusses that birth is a miserable thing. किसी कभी सुना है आपने जिंदगी में? इसके पहले, how many of you heard before this that birth is a miserable thing? Happy, बच्चा पैदा हो गया, हरी को, you know, सब लोग जश्न मनाते हैं, पार्टी करते हैं, ये करते हैं, वो करते हैं, you know, खुशियों से पेड़े बांटते हैं, ये सब करते हैं. But that child has gone through hell. Okay, so Prabhupada is saying these matters are not plainly discussed to make people understand the precarious condition of material existence. What the baby has gone through to be born itself is nothing short of hell. Very tough. Okay, then so Prabhupada says, after birth, okay, in the next purport he says, after birth, yeah, so people don't consider that birth and death may suffering. The common man, the average person in this room also, we don't consider that birth and death are miserable. Old age and disease, ये हमको मालूम है कि miserable है, ये सबको पता है. We have experienced it, or we are experiencing it right now. So we know that old age and disease ये तो बहुत miserable है भाई. But birth and death, death के बारे में हम सोचते ही नहीं है कि it would be fatalistic. Death के बारे में नहीं बात करने का, ये सब नहीं बात करने. Don't talk like, why you talk like this? People say like that. We don't want to talk about death, that death is painful. At the most, what people say, when someone passed away, क्या बोलते हैं? He passed away peacefully in his sleep. No one passes away peacefully. We have discussed a couple of lectures back why death is so painful. Death is painful as long as we are attached to things of this world, people of this world, our assets, our designation, our education, our achievements. We are attached to these things. We will be miserable when we die. That's fact of life. Okay, but we say peacefully. Birth तो किसी को आइडिया ही नहीं है. वो खाली बोलते हैं कि हाँ वो पैसेज में से आया थोड़ा सफरिंग बढ़ेगा. No, even the 8-9 months that the child is in the womb of the mother, it is miserable. So Prabhupada says after birth the child may forget about the difficulties of his past life. Okay, as soon as we are born, previous life का हमको कुछ भी याद नहीं रहता, right? Very very rare. One in 10 million, 10 billion, or maybe what, I don't know. Very rare someone remembers previous life, right? Mostly people have forgotten. Says they may forget about the difficulty of past life, but when we are grown up, see the words that Prabhupada is using the purport. I want you all to just see when a sadhu writes, we should pay attention because the words are so carefully chosen. You know, once Srila Prabhupada, he was writing, he used to, every day in the night, he would sleep from 9 p.m. to around 11:30, 12. It's okay. I wanted to ask because he would know the details of it. But anyway, around 9 to 11:30, 12, Prabhupada would sleep. And then from 12 o'clock, he would start translating Srimad Bhagavatam. Because whole day he would be preaching, going to different parts of the world, preaching. So in the night, he would sit and translate Srimad Bhagavatam word by word, word by word. And he would be typing or he would be speaking into his dictaphone. Into his dictaphone, he would be speaking and reading out purports and like that. So once, and his disciple, whoever was his servant who was serving him, he would be just sitting in the room or just outside the room, waiting that if Prabhupada calls, I have to go in. Bell bajaya to andar jana hai. So once in the night, this disciple was sitting outside Srila Prabhupada's room, and whole night he didn't hear the typewriter, he didn't hear the dictaphone. Kuch awaaz nahi aaya. Then next morning he thought maybe Prabhupada must be tired, maybe he slept, he took rest. So he went in, early morning at 4 o'clock he went in and he saw Prabhupada is awake. He said, Prabhupada, I thought you must be taking rest. I didn't hear any sound from you. Were you taking rest? He said, no, I was trying to translate. He said, then how come no sound whole night? He said, no, there was a particular word. There was a particular word in the purport. I wanted to choose just the appropriate word because ये भागवतम में जो लिखा है, this is like a law book for next 10,000 years. So therefore, I want to choose each word in this purport perfect. I was not getting the right word. Therefore, I was meditating to find the right word. So this is the tapasya. This Bhagavatam is the tapasya of a Siddha Purush, a very wonderful sadhu. So we should understand that ये तपस्या अगर हम लोग अपने जीवन में इसको पढ़ते हैं, we read it, this alone has the ability to transform our lives. Srimad Bhagavatam is like that. See, one is the amazing descriptions given about the Lord's pastimes, about scientific facts, astronomy, astrology. ये कुछ है इसके अंदर, वैदिक एनसाइक्लोपीडिया है. लेकिन purports of the acharya is what makes it come alive. No, otherwise on our own हम क्या पढ़ेंगे? It is like अगर आप वृंदावन जाते हो, how many of you been to Vrindavan? Yeah, if you've been to Vrindavan, if you're gone alone or with some friends, आपको वृंदावन क्या है उसका एक्सपीरियंस कभी मिलेगा ही नहीं. You just go as a tourist, you'll see a few temples, मत्था टेकेंगे और तो प्रसाद लेके निकल जाएंगे. This is what we will do. But when we go with a sadhu, then we really understand, oh, this deity is महत्व है, ये जगह की ये महिमा है. Then the dham comes alive. Otherwise, you'll just see it as a tourist destination. In the same way, scripture also, if you read on our own, good, very nice. But if you just read the translation, you know, क्या पढ़ने पड़ेगा आपको, क्या समझ में आएगा? You will read about the conception, you will read about how the embryo develops. हाँ, so okay, we already know all this. ये तो science में already दिया गया है. इसमें क्या बड़ी बात है? But when we read, Prabhupada says, after birth, the child may forget about difficulties of past life. But when we are grown up, we can at least understand the grievous tortures undergone at birth and death by reading the authorized like Srimad Bhagavatam. मतलब बड़े होने के बाद कम से कम शास्त्र पढ़ो. Read Srimad Bhagavatam, read Srimad Bhagavad Gita, because by reading, at least by reading, you will understand that this birth and death are miserable. Old age and disease तो हमको already experience है, बहुत ही miserable है, समझ में आएगा आपको. So, Prabhupada says, if we have faith in the authority of such descriptions, अभी ये सब description दिया है, अगर हमको इसमें faith है, then we must prepare for freedom in the next life. We already discussed human life. What is the journey that he or she goes through? We have discussed. And what happens if you're very sinful, you go to hellish planet, then you come back through many multiple animal, plant bodies, and then you come back to human life. तो अभी आपको human life मिला है. अभी आपको श्रीमद् भागवतम सुनने का अवसर मिला है. You are like a very privileged, very fortunate. We are a very fortunate minority in this world. Very fortunate minority who got the opportunity to read and hear Srimad Bhagavatam. So, in this life, we must prepare for freedom from old age, disease, and death in the next life. Otherwise, we will be suffering. You see what is, by the analysis of this whole section, chapter 30 and 31, we see there is suffering in birth. Birth में suffering है, agreed? There is suffering in disease. When we get disease, we suffer. Needs no explanation. When we have old age, we suffer. Old age, nobody wants you. Nobody wants you in old age. You become useless. It will come to us also. Prabhupada also one time he told his disciple, Prabhupada was suffering with something. And a disciple was trying to, he said, no, this will happen to you also. You will also become at one point. You know, and when you become old, we start struggling for so many things that earlier when we were working, किसी कंपनी में काम कर रहे थे, HPCL में, BPCL में, RCF में, टाटा पावर में, SAP में, Oracle में, कहीं पे काम कर रहे थे, तो हम लोग को रोज कोई आके महिला की साहब सलाम साहब सलाम ठोक के, मतलब आजकल सलाम ठोकता नहीं है, बट एक रिस्पेक्ट मिलता है. you're in the job, so you're the manager, so every day you walk in and you're looking around, so लोग देख रहे ना मैं आया करके, sir good morning sir, so you get that respect, you get used to it, you get used to the मधुर वाणी. एक मधुर वाणी आती है हर 31 तारीख को, 30 या 31 तारीख को मधुर टिंग सारी गैलरी आ गई. वो मधुर वाणी की आवाज की अपने को आदत पड़ जाती है. We get used to these things, but when we retire, that madhur vani stops. Remember we discussed last time, you lose the ability to earn money, immediately people stop respecting. We are sitting here, we are giving lecture, we are discussing katha. There will come a point when I will not be able to speak. मेरा भी आने वाला है, कभी ना कभी तो आने वाला है, when I will not be able to speak. बोलने जाऊंगा तो कुछ याद नहीं आएगा, दिमाग में कुछ अलग ही आएगा, कुछ अलग ही बोल दूंगा, एक दो बार गलती हो जाएगी, फिर यमुना प्रभु से, प्रभु जी अपना हम लोग किसी और को बुला लेते हैं स्पीकर के लिए. So yeah, you never know. This is going to happen to all of us. We're going to get old. We will lose the respect that we are getting. We will lose the money that we worked so hard to earn. We will lose the beauty that we worked so hard to retain. We will lose the knowledge that we struggle to gain and to show off how knowledgeable I am. सब चला जाएगा by influence of time. Everything is going to. Old age is like that. It's miserable. So, if birth is miserable, disease, old age, death, all miserable, only thing for some time, कुछ समय तक, you can enjoy in your youth. कुछ समय तक, बस. क्यों? Because at least your senses are strong. Senses are strong for some time. वो 20 साल का एक आपको विंडो मिलता है फॉर एंजॉयमेंट. वो 20 साल में आपके सेंसेस स्ट्रांग है तो कम से कम ये तो है ना जहाँ एंजॉय कर सकते हैं. काहे का एंजॉयमेंट? वो टाइम में आपको प्रेशर रहता है कि बेटा आप बस 10वीं तक, 10th इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. बाद में तो जिंदगी पड़ी है. उसके बाद ओनली 12th इज इंपॉर्टेंट. 12वीं एक बार क्लियर करो, अच्छे कॉलेज में मिल गया फिर तो सेट हो गया ना भाई. वो 12वीं में वो रगड़ा मारता है डेस्परेटली. हाँ, फिर उसको कोई कॉलेज मिल जाता है, बोलता है कि बस अभी डिग्री से निकल जाओ, फिर क्या गेम खेलो, मजे करो, जो करना है करो. वो डिग्री से निकल के आता है और एलएनटी ऐलान करता है 90 आवर वीक, 70 आवर वीक. सारे कंपनियां सुन रहे हैं, हाँ यार हमारे ये जो भी नए बच्चे निकल रहे हैं कंपनी में से, हाँ कॉलेजेस में से, निकटते हुए सब एक से एक साथ लेजी है. क्या होते हैं? जेन ज़ी. जेन ज़ी यूजलेस फेलोज, दे आर सो फ्रजाइल. ये वो और दबाओ इनको, वो काम निकालो इनसे, साफ करके वो ये मारता है. एंजॉयमेंट तो नहीं मिलेगा. अरे मिलता, तो भी शादी कर ले, सेटल हो जा. इतनी बात बोलते, एंजॉयमेंट शादी कर लेता है, वाइफ भी काम कर रही है, पति भी काम कर रहा है, मदर इन लो दोनों को सुना रही है. मिजरी इन ऑफिस, मिजरी एट होम. वी वेयर मिजरी बट स्टिल इफ यू कुछ तो एंजॉय करूंगा मैं, कुछ तो एंजॉय करूंगा. मिलता ही क्या है? व्हाट यू गेट फॉर थिंकिंग दिस मटेरियल वर्ल्ड इज truly a miserable place. What thinking about? कहाँ है enjoyment? You know, that's why शास्त्र gives us at least हमको दिवार में देख यार, ये है mirror. हाँ, मतलब तू सोच रहा है, तू मजे कर रहा है, but reality ये है. This is the reality, right? So, हाँ, so finally it is described that the child, the 7th month, it has already gone through a lot of misery. ऐसा उसको दबा के रखा है, उसका what the mother eats, he is suffering, is in a smelly amniotic fluid, messy situation. You imagine, have you ये गलत एग्जांपल है, बट अगर कोई भी आप में से कभी भी कीचड़ में गिरा है क्या? कीचड़ में या गंदे पानी में कोई गिरा है क्या खेलते टाइम? गिरा रहेगा कोई तो. गंदे पानी, अगर गंदे पानी में गिर गए तो आप तुरंत क्या करते हो? जाते हो. फर्स्ट थिंग यू ट्राई टू, oh my god, if one pigeon relieves itself on you, what happens? You feel so dirty na, कितना गंदा लगता है. You can't be in that. Actually what has happened, your full body is clean, just थोड़ा सा आपके सर को ऐसा टच करते हुए, ऐसा कान को थोड़ा सा टच करके आपके इस पे गिरा है. So repulsed by the whole thing, just that small touch. Imagine the baby is like that for a good long period. A dirty, amniotic sac. It looks very, माँ की कोट में पल रहा है. सुनने को कितना अच्छा लगता है ना. बेचारा सफर कर रहे हैं अंदर वहां पे, waiting to come out at the first chance. My daughter came out 2.5 months early. मतलब बोल तो क्या, जल्दी आ गई हो तो. Yeah, so in the 7th month it is described by the Suti Vata, by the air. The child, is pushed down. तो नीचे कुछ कहता है और उसका सर उल्टा ना हो. One more complication, the पैर ऊपर folded like this. So in fetal position, they are like this. Head is folded like this. Legs are folded towards the chest. एंड इन दैट पोजीशन उसको उल्टा कर दिया जाता है कि अभी तैयार हो जा, अभी 1-2 महीने में तेरा टाइम आएगा, यू बी पुश्ड आउट ऑफ दिस प्लेस, राइट? सो एट दैट पॉइंट इन द 7th month the child develops conscious. Till then the child is like not conscious, it's suffering, it is enjoying, but it's not very conscious. At this point the child develops consciousness. The child is frightened, it is pleading, and it is described that if the child was in a good consciousness in previous life, was a devotee in the previous life, then at that point that child offers prayers to the Lord, that who has put him in this situation, him or her in this situation. The child offers prayers to the Lord, which we'll discuss next time. Prabhupada gives several analogies why the child offers prayers. It is like a woman who has gone through pregnancy. पहला pregnancy के बाद immediately, suppose on the day that the child was born, अगर पति आके पत्नी को बोलता है देखो कितना सुंदर बच्चा है, एक और करें, वाइफ का क्या रिएक्शन रहता है? छाप करके एक लाफा मारेगी उसको, because she has just gone through having to give birth to that child. वापस को बातें मत करना, चलो यहाँ से, right? Because she is actually swearing to herself. अरे बाबा, और एक नहीं चाहिए, बस हो गया, एक बच्चा ही बस, right? A person who undergoes surgery, knee surgery और bariatric surgery और heart surgery, बहुत कचरा खाया जिंदगी भर, तो अभी 4 बाईपास सर्जरी एक साल, 15 लाख खर्चा करो और 4 बाईपास सर्जरी. What does he swear after that? वापस कभी सर्जरी के सर्जन के मुंह में नहीं पड़ना है. एक बार हॉस्पिटल के मुंह में पड़े तो क्या होता है? कभी बार मियाँ हो गया, वहीं पे डिपार्टमेंट से डिपार्टमेंट घूमते रहोगे आप. आई रिमेम्बर वंस व्हेन आई हैड एन एक्सीडेंट वे बैक 1998, वेरी बैड एक्सीडेंट. तो लाइक अ हेड इंजरी, हेड में ब्लीडिंग हुआ था, मल्टीपल फ्रैक्चर्स इन pelvic girdle, bedridden for almost for 18-20 days. I couldn't move. Left leg was paralyzed for almost a month. Left leg was completely paralyzed. But I was in good hospital, Hinduja hospital में था. And रोज वो डॉक्टर अगरवाला करके एक था, was like a very sophisticated, spine surgeon. He would come as a, hello Siddharth, so how are you today? क्या हाल है आपके आज के? तो मैं बोला कि ठीक है, पेन तो हो रहा है, ठीक है, चल रहा है, okay. और क्या हो रहा है? How, what else is happening? So थोड़ा सा सर दुख रहा है. He said okay. Event. After some time, a nurse comes and she starts healing me away. मैं बोला क्या हो गया? बोलते नहीं, आपको इसके सीटी स्कैन के लिए भेज दिया. मतलब क्यों? नहीं, वो आपने बोला था ये हेडेक. I said just have a headache, it's gone now. No, we can't rule out anything. सीटी स्कैन करा के लेके आए वापस, and then a brain surgeon came to meet. हिंदुजा, अभी एक सर्जन आते हैं तो तुरंत वो उस जमाने का 750 रुपया था, 1998 का. लकीली कंपनी वाज पेइंग, तो मेरे को इतना फटका नहीं पड़ा. बट न्यूरो सर्जन केम, he asked me what's the problem, what's happening. There's no problem. He said, I have been called here. I said, I have no idea. I just told the doctor I have a headache. They sent me to a CT scan and now they have sent you to meet me. So really, I don't need this. उसको इतना एम्बेरेस हो गया, उन्होंने आई एम सॉरी, चला गया. लकीली वो चार्ज नहीं किया उन्होंने. बट ये है, एक बार डॉक्टर के मुंह में गए तो वापस निकल नहीं सकते. इसलिए जो एक बार डॉक्टर के सर्जरी के मुंह में गया ना, बोलते कि now I have to become healthy, I have to be careful, right? If someone goes to a dangerous place like Pahalgam, I went there. Okay, I'm just saying, last week when this happened, I didn't know whether I should feel relieved, I should feel, grateful, or should I feel angry at what has happened. Because I had gone to the exact same place 6 months back with my wife. We had gone to Pahalgam. We were there for a good 2-3 hours. 2-3 घंटा वहाँ पे थे हम लोग. Would have happened to us? Didn't happen. By God's grace, we came back safe and sound. कुछ भी नहीं हुआ. अभी हुआ, right? But now Will you ever go to Pahalgam again? कभी कश्मीर जाओगे शायद कभी, मतलब पता नहीं. Now how many of you have the guts to go to Kashmir? Anybody? No one has the guts to go to Kashmir now. कोई नहीं जाएगा. चलो 4 साल बाद. Anybody? Maybe. यहाँ हाथ ऊपर नहीं करेंगे, बट कभी नहीं गए तो सोचेंगे एक बार तो जाना चाहिए. 4 साल बाद नॉर्मल सी आ गया तो जाएंगे, बट पहलगाम नहीं जाएंगे. पहलगाम नहीं जाएंगे, बाकी जगह जाएंगे. Right? So this is what it is. Once you have gone through a horrible, harrowing experience, you vow to yourself, फिर से नहीं, फिर से नहीं. So same way, this child which is frightened and suffering in the womb of the mother, he prays. So we'll just read this final purport. Prabhupada says, 11th verse. Similarly, the living entity, when put into a hellish condition of life, prays to the Lord that he will never again commit sinful activities and have to be put into the womb for repeated birth and death. In the hellish condition within the womb, the living entity is very much afraid of being born again. हमें किसी का डर है, हमें किसी को डर है कि फिर से पैदा होंगे, किसी के पुनरपि जननम पुनरपि मरणम पुनरपि जननी जठरे शयनम. और रट्टा भी मार लिया भाई, क्या बात है, एकदम अच्छा साउंड है. It sounds so nice. But actually it is saying that again and again, punarapi jananam, again and again born, punarapi maranam, again death, punarapi janani, mother, jathare, sharanam. This is the cycle of birth and death. So this person is very much afraid. Who is afraid? A person who has the consciousness, who is a devotee. If a devotee is born again because he or she could not perfect their life, then they come into this consciousness that, very much afraid of being born again. But when he is out of the womb, when he is in full life and good health, he again forgets everything. See what suffering I went through in the womb, he or she forgets everything and commits again and again the same sins for which he was put into that horrible condition of existence. This is what illusion is all about. This is what Maya is all about. This is why we need to be so careful. Read Shastra, understand what is this material world, understand that birth, old age, disease, death, all are miserable. You're living in a miserable material world. The solution is not trying to find happiness in a miserable world. Solution is to leave this miserable material world and try to go back to Godhead. So on that note, I'll end this discussion. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki, Srila Gurudev ki, Srimad Bhagavatam Mahapuran ki, Jai Gaur Premanandi. Hare. Any questions, comments? Anybody? Couple of minutes. Yes, sir. Yeah, so that is the aspiration of the devotee who is trying to perfect his life and live his life, his or her life, as a surrendered soul, who is surrendered to the will of the Lord. So, Bhakti Vinod Thakur, who is one of our acharyas, he says, Maro bhi rakho bhi, jo ichha tohar, nitya das prati tuva adhikar. He says that, you, if you want, you can rakho bhi, you can protect me. Maro bhi, rakho bhi, you can kill me, you can protect me. Jo ichha tohar. Whatever is your desire, please do it. Nitya das prati tuva adhikar. I am your servant, eternally. Tuva adhikar. You have the right to do whatever you want to do. So a pure devotee is thinking that I will do what is as per the will of the Lord. If the Lord wants to remove me from this material world and take me back to Godhead, I will go back to God. If He wants me to continue in this material world and serve Him in whatever capacity I can. So actually the purpose of bhakti ultimately is what? सवय पुंसां परो धर्मो यतो भक्तिर अधोक्षजे अहैतुकी अप्रतिहता ययात्मा सुप्रसिद्धति. Srimad Bhagavatam, this is the most important verse of the whole Bhagavatam. One of the most, matlab, the first canto this comes. Which chapter, Koji? You remember? Second chapter. Second chapter, 1.2.38. Savai Pumsan Paroti. Seventh chapter. Okay. So in the first canto, this is there. It says that the purpose of second chapter. Second chapter. So it is the purpose of life is what, as per the Srimad Bhagavatam, Paro Dharma, the ultimate dharma is what? Yato Bhaktir Adhokshaje, pure devotional service to the Supreme Lord Krishna. Ahaytuki apratiyata. Ahaytuki means no hetu. There is no motivation that by doing this I will be liberated, I will go back to body. There is no motivation that ये करने से मेरा थोड़ा family life अच्छा और peaceful हो जाएगा, मेरा शनि दोष निकल जाएगा, मेरा राहु का प्रकोप निकल जाएगा, ऐसा कोई
सत्संग चालू आहे ते
अहैतुकी and अप्रतिहता.
श्रीराम सत्कार प्रभु आमच्या कौन्सिलर आहे.
कोई रुकावट के लिए खेद नहीं है इसमें. Continuous. That अरे मेरे लाइफ में इतना प्रॉब्लम आ गया, मैं छोड़ देता हूँ भक्ति. नहीं. अरे मेरा लाइफ इतना अच्छा हो गया, मैं अभी और भक्ति करूँ. नहीं. It has no connection with what is happening in outside world or even in their own mind, because they are trying to surrender to Krishna. Very elevated consciousness. Right now, at our level, we should understand that at least material world में रहने का plan मत बनाओ. कम से कम सोचो that there is something beyond the material world, which is spiritual world, where you don't have to suffer all of this. So this is like a very factor level. फिर उसके बाद बोलेंगे कि आप मटेरियल वर्ल्ड में रहो, सफर भी करो, लेकिन फिर भी सर्व द लॉर्ड. दैट इज अ वेरी एलिवेटेड. इट टेक्स some time to reach. Hare Krishna. Any other questions? Yes, karma. The suffering starts in the womb of the mother itself. The suffering starts before he gets the body. We discussed in hellish planets. Because karma is not like a, it is a continuous cycle. आपने इतना कर्मा का accumulate कर रखा है. So much good karma and so much bad karma that you may have to suffer hellish planet. After hellish planet, you are born in human body, plant body, animal body. When you are born in the human body, also in the womb of the mother, you are suffering. एनिमल बॉडी में कोई कम नहीं है. एलिफेंट के बॉडी में, डियर के बॉडी में पैदा होता है, ज़ीब्रा के बॉडी में पैदा होते ही इट हैज टू स्टार्ट रनिंग, बिकॉज़ इमीडिएटली लायन अटैक करता है. हार्टलेस, दे हैव नो हार्ट, दे विल इमीडिएटली अटैक. देखिए बच्चा भी कैसे भागना अब तक आता नहीं है, इमीडिएटली दे अटैक. तो कर्मा इज रिलेंटलेस. कभी आपको रेस्ट देगा नहीं, वो आपको ढूंढ ही लेगा. जहां पे भी हो आपको सफरिंग ऐसा कुरियर जैसा डिलीवर करेंगे. You don't understand that, sometimes in the womb, sometimes the children are still born. What happens? Born, they were conceived, but they were not born at all. और when they are born, वो जब बच्चे को बाहर निकालते हैं, ब्रेन प्रेस हो जाता है, उसकी वजह से बच्चा goes into cerebral palsy. Nothing happens by chance in this world. Nothing happens by chance. It's all happening by karma. Like that. Hare Krishna. Shall we conclude here? Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Gurudev ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam Mahapuran ki jai, Gaur Premanandi.
जय.
We request all of you. Next time we will discuss from text 12 onwards. It says, Jantur Uvacha, the living entity speaks, what he prays to the Lord. We'll discuss that. We'll not go into too much detail, but we'll discuss. But I humbly request, if you have time, how many of you have Bhagavatam at home? Okay. Many of you have Bhagavatam at home. So, it's available online also. So please read this section Canto 3, chapter 31, verse 1 to 11. Right? You can make this a practice every time. After we finish, you can read. And before you come next time, आगे का भी पढ़ के आओ. थोड़ा आप उसमें contribute भी कर दो कि आपने ये point नहीं बोला. I'll be happy to accept. Okay? Hare Krishna. Let us do kirtan for 15 minutes. Hare Krishna.
गौशाला वाले